Hello everyone. Welcome to this talk. My name is Stefano, and today we will discuss about UI and UX, starting across the entire board, basically, starting from mobile to print, passing through desktop, of course, in just 30 minutes, or probably less. And how are you? Are you good? Good? Yes? A bit tired, maybe? Excited? Great. So this is one of the last talks of the day, and I really don't want to drain the last bit of energy you're probably keeping aside for the party. So I prepared a very a very visual presentation for you guys to showcase some examples of the improvements we deployed for version 18. Improvements that we can discuss together. Here there is the QR code. I already invite you to scan the code, open a tab in your browser, and eventually during the presentation, write down your comments, your feedbacks, your remarks, why not? And we will discuss everything together at the very end during the usual Q&A sessions. And I just ask you to write also your name together with the question, because it's nicer for me to relate specifically to persons. It's just a thing of me. And so a few seconds more for the code. Meanwhile, something about me. I'm the team leader of the research and development design team here at Odoo. I work in this company since 10 years now, version 7. I don't know if someone in the audience can relate with that, version 7. Yeah, I'm not the only Odoo dinosaur. Great. And I have the honor to lead this wonderful team of unicorns. Those are full stack designers that are able to design, of course, but also to, depending by the case, implement whatever comes to their mind. They're really the people behind the design of the backend and the front end. So before even starting this presentation, I would like to thank you them for the amazing job they did. I had to say that. Thank you. So, without any further ado, let's dive in. I said I wrote some examples to you today. The first one is about the mobile templates, the second one is about print, and the third one is about the website. This is probably the biggest news, at least in terms of design, for this release. And let's start by mobile. There is no need to stress how much mobile is important, of course. During the keynotes today, I think that half of the keynotes was done during using a mobile device. But maybe something that is not always clear by a user perspective is how much is challenging sometimes to convert a design that has been made, the design of a very complex software that has been made for desktop to mobile. Why? Because the available space is, of course, less, but also because the interaction patterns are totally different. As a designer, if on desktop I can rely on the fact that the user eventually will navigate his way, thanks, with this cursor until he reach the functionality he's looking for, on mobile is much more complex. We have to make choices, we have to guess, and we have to guide the user through the flow. And this is particularly true for Odoo, of course, because we cover a lot of use cases and a lot of scenarios. And we really wanted to improve mobile for version 18, and we knew that we have to start from this guy, the control panel. During the redesign of version 17, we struggled a bit with this guy. Why? It's a very prominent element of the UI. It includes both functionality, actions, and navigations. And despite the overall design you can see there is more or less clean, as you can see, the space is not well optimized. We had 3 rows, and almost half of the space was empty. Why? It's not a design choice, of course. The problem was that this is the component that it's used by a lot of modules to inject custom button and functionalities. And it's also the place where normally contextual element will appear. For example, in a list view, when you select multiple elements, there is a selection box that appears, and it appears there. So this is about the overall layout, about the navigation. we had the button to switch. Whoa! We had the button to switch to the app switcher on the top right side. Yeah. And on the other side of the screen, we have this side panel that was including the navigation within the current module, but also the preferences and the options that were related to the user. So there was a lot to unpack, and we started designing and making tests. And this is probably one of the most mature draft we made. Sorry, Xavier, I don't know if he's in here, but if I brought your draft on the talk, sorry, but it is what it is. Yeah, so we had a much more condensed layout in terms of space, but the navigation remained more or less the same, meaning that we still had the app switcher button on the right side, and on the left side, we had the usual panel, including both navigation and user preference. And this was very challenging, and whatever we were trying was going outside the usual Odoo patterns, let's say, but we decided to take a step back and starting from the content. So we thought, what about if we move everything is navigation related on one side of the UI and everything is user related on the other side? Of course, keeping everything is action and notification at the very top. And so we ended up with this new design that is version 18, where you have a condensed layout. Everything is in 2 rows, for what matters the control panel, of course. And now on the top right part, you have an hamburger menu that is a very common pattern. Everyone knows what it's used for. And now it's used only for navigation, meaning that here what you can see is the navigation within the current module, the sail one. And we added a very convenient button on top, all apps, to switch to all the apps, to the app switcher. And indeed, the one of the app switcher is a functionality that we didn't want to lose because it's very convenient for the user to switch between apps. And so on one side, we have now all the navigation, and on the other side, we have everything is user-related, meaning all your preference, your options, etc. And there is no more confusion about that, luckily. When you enter inside an entry, the layout remains consistent. The entry title goes on the top with a button to go eventually back. And on the cog menu that has been introduced in version 17, you have all the options that are related to the record specifically, like clone, remove, archive. And in the newly introduced Bolt button, you have rapid actions. Those are normally related to the specific module, like, for example, if you want to jump across tasks, etc. So this was the control panel. This was probably the biggest change in terms of UI for mobile and version 18, but we did a lot of improvements and changes across all the modules and across all the views. What you see here, this is just an example again. In version 17, the filters tab was prompting a very invasive model showing you all the filters. You had to manually select each of them and eventually at the very end confirm. And now you get the filter result. This was a bit decontextualizing for the user, so we opted for a very common mobile pattern nowadays, that is the list of drop-downs. As soon as you select an option, the entire content is dynamically updated, and eventually you can scroll horizontally. So you will find tons of changes like that in the UI for the mobile Odoo. So in terms of the mobile, we streamlined the mobile interface, especially for the control panel finally. We kept the functionality that the user was expecting, and we simplified the navigation, and hopefully we boost user satisfaction, at least for what for our test. And we also use Odoo internally, as you may know. We think that is a much better solution now. About print. So as you may know, there are a lot of ways to print stuff in Odoo. You can print reports, you can print sale orders and invoicing, etc. And what we did for this release was to pass through all the templates and totally redesign them. Redesign the existing templates, and we introduce new ones. With the colored shapes, the text, the colors of your company, etc. And what else? We wanted to try something different. Let's say there is a lot of data in Odoo that actually you can use also for print during a meeting, for example. If it's worth reading, it's worth printing. This is unknown, and I think that is right on that. And let's assume that you want to bring some data during a meeting. Not this meeting, this meeting. We like this meeting. And maybe you want to print directly from the UI. Now you can. As you probably saw in the keynote, you have just to press Ctrl-P or Command-P, and you can print directly the view that you are watching in that moment. This is the case for the list view, but also the Kanban view, grouped and ungrouped. Yes, the form view, basically any views in Odoo. There are some tips and tricks and things you should be aware of, because of course, as soon as we press Ctrl-P, we lose a bit the control, we let the browser handle a lot of stuff. So the browser window size may impact the final result. So what I suggest is if you plan to print on landscape, adjust the window size to landscape. The other way around, if you plan to print on landscape, adjust it accordingly. The page orientation, of course, and the margin that you set in the print window model will affect the final result as well. Be aware of fixed elements that may be visible in the UI, like modal and drop down. Normally, the system already strips all these elements for you, but if there is a big model, of course, and you don't want to print it, just hide it. And then there are browser inconsistencies, especially for everything is table related and edition elements related. Each browser behaves differently, so you may find some inconsistencies across browsers. But how we did that, and Fabian today said that it was just a simple detail, but trust me, it was not. It was not. Warning, nerd zone. If you are not a coder, you can take a nap. I will wake up you in 5 minutes, something like that. You have just to know that we did it right, okay? But if you're a coder, stay with me. We put the bar quite high since from the start, because we agreed on some technical requirements. We wanted to keep one file for each component, meaning not one single print.css, including the entire framework there. We wanted to keep one file for each component. We wanted that the print design inherits the screen design by default, because we don't want to reinvent the wheel. The design of a page is the same. It should be the same in screen and in print as well, except some minor adjustment, but the base, the backbone should be the same. And then we absolutely didn't want that the footprint of the base CSS for screen will be impacted by that. Okay? So no new code on top. We tried different approaches. The first one is the vanilla CSS, let's say. So we have an element that comes with an opacity, and then we have specific rules that are triggered depending if you are on screen or on print. This is quite basic. We respect the first rule, or having a one file for component. Print is inheriting the default style. As you can see, opacity 0.5 is available on any media type. But the CSS of the screen was affected in a way. What I mean is that even if the browser is smart enough to understand that there is a media print role there, and so it should be ignored, still in the footprint of the CSS, we have a bunch of code that is probably not needed, okay? And this is something that we wanted to avoid. So on the other side of the spectrum, we tried something totally different that is actually very bad, having different bundles, one for print and one for screen. And of course, this fails entirely because we have multiple files. We had to recode everything for print entirely, and screen was affected as well. Screen was affected? No, this is actually not true. I should fix that. And so we ended up with a mixing approach. Here you see there is a media. This is not the actual name of the variable. I just streamline a bit to simplify the presentation. But there is a variable that defines the media type, and this is set by screen to screen by default. When we enter in the selector of the element, we have a first opacity rule that is valid for any media type, and then we have our mixing. What this mixing does is to check if the screen attribute is equal to the current value of media, and if it's the case, it will output the following rules. So this is for screen, and in the case of screen, print is totally ignored and color green is not added in the bundle. In case we are in print mode, because the user tapped Control P, the media variable becomes print, and since in the base bundle screen is using the default flag, this value will be ignored, meaning that print is the new media, and in this case, I don't know if you see my cursor. Okay. In this case, the first call of the mixing will be ignored, while the second one will be active. And this will allow us to have one file for component. Print inherits from the default design because opacity is still there and is active, and the screen is not affected, so it's perfection. This is exactly what we wanted to. Okay. So for print, we improved any existing template, and we add the new ones. We make the new UI view printable. We keep the code slim. And we increase portability across different medium, because now if you want to bring some data at a meeting and you have no time to create a report, you can just print a view and it's done. About website, very fast. So website, last year we redesigned the backend entirely. This year we decided to redo the front end. And we had a lot of ideas, but we were, but the UI actually was holding us back from making new improvements. Why? Because, okay, let's do a live session very fast. So I should have 17 here. Okay, so I think that during the previous talk, it has been discussed as well. But before we had this sidebar with the snippet library, including all the snippets listed one by one. Each snippet comes with his own pictogram, illustrating more or less what the snippet is supposed to look like as soon as you drop it in the page. I think that for version 17, we had something like 50 snippets or something like that. And when we initially thought about improving the website, of course, we thought also about adding new snippets, providing new variations for design. And we thought to add 60 more. And of course, 60 more, it would have been a pain to navigate using this UI. So we designed this new system with a categorization for all the snippets. We have snippets organized by category now, and as soon as you click one, you have all the snippets that are related to that category specifically in the model. And yeah, R&D website developed that in a breeze, I think like in 2 weeks, and finally we had this whiteboard available space for us, and we implemented these 60 snippets that we wanted to implement. And here there are some examples of snippets we implemented. And the cool thing about this model is that as soon as you switch to a different theme, for example, the preview is automatically updated. So I go to clean theme, for example. Since the model is using iframe, it will always show you Yeah, it will always show you the images and the colors that you are actually active for the team. Teams that we redesign entirely from the scratch. We redesign all the teams. And yeah, going very fast. Those are examples of the themes that we implemented. And as soon as we designed the new snippets, we introduced the new color palettes, we designed the new themes, we realized that there was an issue. And the issue was that by default, this is the default design of a team. This is the vehicle team, I think. Yes. And as soon as you try to load this theme using the website configurator, you may get a result that is, how to say, compliant with your request. So a business type to be specific, some colors that are the one that you choose. But the result may be sometimes suboptimal. Why? Because there is a layer underground in Odoo in the configurator that replace all the text, the color, the layout, trying to adapting the design and the content to your business. And this is valuable. This is actually a very interesting feature, but it was not clear for the user that this was happening. So we thought, okay, maybe we should add a model at the very beginning when you create a website saying your website has been reorganized and redesigned according to your need. But this was time consuming and probably it would have been ignored by the user. And so we thought about the window loader. What you see there is the version 17.1. That was actually the best place to, to showcase this information. In version 17, we just list the modules that are installed. Meanwhile, you install a website, of course. And for version 18, we made something different. So we have now nice animation one side, but the main point is the list on the left side. In the left side, we prompt the user the list of action that the system is
performing. So applying your colors, searching your image, adapting your building blocks, generating all the text. So at this point, you understand what the system is doing. This doesn't just magically happen. You are following the process, and as soon as you reach the final result in your website, you will not be surprised by little glitch or misplacement of the image. Actually, you will see the value because that image has been chosen because it matches your business. Okay? Yep. Okay, so website, complete redesign of the snippets and themes, introduction of 60 new building blocks. We improved the snippet library UI, and we clarified that it was actually an AI-driven content creation process because it was not clear for the user at first. Okay, so time constraints. This is all for me. Thank you so much. And if you have any question. Yep.
Well, thank you for the talk. Very, very interesting.
Thank you.
Not too many questions, but I'll just ask. Will the previous custom reports still work, or must they be migrated?
As far as I know, it works by default.
Yes, that one. One more.
I don't know if before doing the previous talk, someone asked about customizing the UI of the backend. I don't know if the person is still in the room. Okay. But by the way, it's definitely possible. Just some suggestion how to do that. Basically, use a CSS variable is the preferred way. It will keep you safe from migrations. Very good. Thank you.